In today's show, we're going to talk about the Power Apps SMTP Connector. And what does that mean? That means we're going to show you finally a way to send emails in Power Apps instead of having the email come from the person who clicks the button, have it come from a hard-coded address like do not reply at company.com, right? Everybody wants this. There's a couple different ways to solve it. We're going to talk about the ways that we're not going to do it in the video, but no one wants to solve them that way. And then I'm going to show you how to use the SMTP connector to finally solve this problem once and for all. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911, those guys. And today, other than being surrounded by Christmas stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to learn about the SMTP connector in Power Apps. And we can use it with Flow as well. But the idea of this connector is it's going to let us send an email from a hard-coded address, no matter who it is, and we're not going to have to jump through any of those weird send-as hoops where we're giving everybody access to someone else's mailbox. It is a little interesting, right? The first time I went down this road, I didn't realize it, but with our Office 365 subscriptions, we have the ability to use them as an SMTP relay, and that's really the key to this. So we're going to set up that connector, and we're going to talk a little bit about the passwords for it. We're going to talk about MFA, right? Multi-factor authentication passwords, so app passwords, if you have those. Talk about how it shares, and just make sure that you understand this SMTP connector. I think it opens a lot of scenarios that we've struggled with for a while without having to do all the shenanigans we've done. So should be fun. Let's switch over to my desktop and get started. Over here for today's demo, I thought we'd just start with an app that I've built previously, right? This is from the series of like everything email. So if you're like, whoa, I see a lot of cool things that I want to learn about. Well, we've already learned those. So switch over to the video that, I don't know, I'll link somewhere on the page. But what I thought was to kind of keep all my stuff together, right? We know that when we send emails here, we can send a simple email, and basically whoever presses this button, that's who the email is going to come from. So right now I'm logged in as Ferguson to Cat, and so if I press the button as Ferguson to Cat, then the email would come as Ferguson, right? Now we also know in this video that we did talk about sending an email from another user, but in order to do this, the user, so in this case Ferguson, has to have send as whatever user I'd pre-configured. And so in the demo I did here, I pre-configured it as Chewy, but clearly Ferguson to Cat cannot have permissions to Chewy's mailbox, even to send as Chewy's behalf, because goodness knows what that cat would do with it, right? So we didn't want to set up send as for everyone in our company to be able to send as Chewy in order for these emails to go out. So we can't really use this in this scenario. So to that end, let's jump to this other screen. We're going to talk about two things today. So one is going to be this send with mail connector. This one doesn't do anything fun, but I thought it's good to sneak it in there real quick. So I'll spend like 30 seconds explaining how that one works, maybe 2 minutes. But what I really was after was send email from Chewy no matter what, right? So even though I'm logged in as Ferguson, if I press this button, we're going to send out an email, and we're going to use the SMTP connector, and it's going to be sent as Chewy. So if we go over to my box, one sec. So here you can see I got an email. This should always be from Chewy as the subject. I did a little body here. But the key is that even though Ferguson pressed the button, the email came as Chewy the dog. So that's what we're going to learn about how to build out today, right? And we're going to use Ferguson as an example because there's a few little tidbits about this, especially on the security side that I want you to understand. But also we're going to go through and do all of this from the beginning. And so I had this one come as Chewy because we're going to set up do not reply at powerapps911.com for the first time ever. Like, we're going to go through the whole process. Cool? All right. So let's minimize Ferguson for a moment. And so if we come over here, so when I started to play with this topic, the first thing that I tried was this button right here, right? So we're going to grab this button and we're going to say, hey, I wanted to be able to send an email, but I didn't want to use the Outlook connector. So it turns out that over in the data connections, if you search for mail, right here, there is a mail connector. And so if you use this one, let's go ahead and use this one. So we're going to add this to our app. Oh, we're going to click on it down here to add it to our app. And so we're going to add this in. This is going to get added as mail_1 because I already had the mail connector from the previous practice run. But so if you then come up here and start to type in mail, you're going to see that you've got mail send email v3, right? So all the mail connector does is sends emails. It's a pretty straightforward pattern. So, right, sort of send it to me. So Shane at powerapps911.com, and then subject, and then body, and then is HTML. We'll say true. And it has a bunch of optional parameters, but we're not here to learn about this connector. I just wanted to show it to you as we went by. So if we do this, let's press this button, hold down the Alt key, press the button. It looks like it went. So then now let me jump over to my mailbox and grab that real quick. One sec. And so boom, this email shows up. Now, the reason I wanted you to see this one though, is this one comes from Microsoft at powerapps.com, right? So this one does not come from the user who pressed the button. It comes from this generic account. So some customers are like, hey, that's good enough. I just didn't want it to come from the person that pressed it. We're going to use this generic Microsoft account. And then they think about it for 30 seconds. And I've actually never had a customer stick with this one. But I wanted you to at least see that it is possible to send these emails and not have them come from the user without jumping through all the hoops that we're about to jump through. Okay? So that is using the mail connector, right? This guy right here. So the other piece of the puzzle, and let's just go ahead and remove these extra connections out of here while I'm thinking about it. We're going to pull the SMTP one out as well. But so the SMTP connector, that's the one that we're after. So if we add a button here, and we'll just put it beside this one because it's going to be a fix for that. And so if you search for SMTP, you will see that there is a connector for this. But before you can use it, you've got to go set it all up. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over here, and we're going to go back into the home of Power Apps. We're going to go to under data, we've got connections. And so you want to do a new connection. And so when you do a new connection, you can then use the search up here in the top right and just type in SMTP, right? Simple Mail Transfer Protocol for my non-nerd friends that don't know what this is. And so when you do this, it's like, all right, cool. I can send SMTP mail. And this is how we used to send email like a long, long time ago, right? We would have to do different types of SMTP relays. And so if you've still got those other types of SMTP services, you could totally use this. But in my case, right, our companies ran out of Exchange Online as part of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 or whatever we call it this week. But what I found is that there is an SMTP address you can use here. So let me grab that address. Hold on. And so that address is smtp.office365.com, right? So that's the same for all of us. This isn't unique to me. This is all of us Office 365 peeps. We've got access to the address. And so then down here, it's like the other piece that you probably don't know is this SMTP server port, and it is 587. And then you'd enable SSL, right? So these are the connections. These three settings are the same for all of us. So now the key though is the username. So what account do you want to authenticate with this SMTP connection using? And more not importantly, what email address is going to be tied to that. So this is where we got to go over. And so if you don't have admin, you won't be able to do this. You're going to need IT or someone like that to help you. But you can point IT to this part of the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to office.com. And so then down here in the bottom left, I'm going to go to the admin center or admin console or admin, whatever. I'm going to log in as me for the 100th time today. And it should drop us into here. And the reason I need to be here is I got to create this do not reply user, right? That's how we're going to get this. So I'm going to go to users, active users. I hope we're not out of licenses, quite frankly, because we're pretty close. I'll have to gray out a bunch of this. That's all right. Add a user. And so what am I going to set this up? I'm going to just call this, we'll name the person do not reply. Why not? Their display name will be do not reply. Perfect. Look at that. That worked. Their username, I'm just going to do not reply at powerapps911.com, and it matches. Perfect. And then for the password, I'm going to use that. No, I'm not. I'm going to use. Okay, I think I'm going to use that. And so that works. I am not going to require them to change their password right now. But so remember, one of the things I want you to take off of this screen as you're filling out all this is this username. This is what we're going to need over, right, back over in Power Apps. So we know that this is going to be do not reply at, that'll work, at powerapps911.com. So that's going to be my username. And then the password, I'll type that in a second. Let's go back over here again. All right, that all looks fine. So we're going to say next. So from a license standpoint, they are going to need a Office 365 license, but really all they need is an Exchange Online license because that's all this account's going to do is be used for email relaying. So you could break it down and go find that very specific license. I am just going to give it an Office 365 E3 license, but it doesn't need all of that. It really just needs the Exchange portion. So we're going to say next. Optional, right? No, right? I don't need any extra settings here. So next. and then finish adding. And there you go, right? So this person should be all set up. So we're going to close out of here. So now we've created that user. So then now we should be able to go back over here. And then I got to remember what I just made the password. I think I made it this. And then we're going to say create. So this should be adding the connection. If this is successful, then you know that you've got all your settings right, and more importantly, you've got the authentication correct. All right, it does not like something I did. Do not reply at Power Apps 911. All right, let me try the password again. I'll just pause the video while I figure this out. Hold on. Okay, so it worked on the 12th try. I think what it was, like I went and just logged in into office.com as that account. And so I think that just kind of got to go, oh yeah, you're a good account, and it moved forward. So, but that would probably be the way to troubleshoot is go to office.com. Make sure you can log in with it over there, right? I am logged in as that account. Right now you can see good old do not reply is set up right here. But so I had to get logged in, and then as soon as this let me log in, then I was able to come over here and do my thing. Now, speaking of logging in though, one of the things that we will do here at Power Apps 911 is we use multi-factor authentication, right? So you get the little text message on your phone with the number, or use the Authenticator app, or whatever it is you choose to do it, right? But we have that set up on our accounts, all of our accounts. So I would have to turn that on this account. And so after you turn it on, all of a sudden your connector is not going to authenticate. So in that case, what you need is something called an app password. So if I go to my Office profile, and then I change my mind and say, you know what, instead of that, I'm going to go to view account. So over here on view account, if you go to security info, so this is where I would set up a authenticator method, right? So this is where I need to set up that multi-factor auth. And so what I would do is I would set up the multi-factor auth. I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm not an expert on that. I don't want to give you any misleading information, but you'd set that up. And then on this same exact screen, then you have the ability to generate what's called an app password. And so app passwords allow you to have a hard-coded username and password, or sorry, the username is always hard-coded, but a hard-coded password that works. It's a big long string that you can place, and anytime you use that password, you don't have to use multi-factor authentication. And so that's what you'd have to set up here in order to use multi-factor authentication. If this account had to have MFA, you'd turn on MFA, and then you'd set up that. That's something for your IT folks to worry about, but once again, just tell your IT folks if any of that is the case. So, but now that we've got the connector, we've done all the hard work, right? We've set it up. So if we go back over here to our app now, and so then now if we search for SMTP like we just did, and we click on SMTP, we're going to see our connector down here. Now, it's hard to tell which one this is, so what I would probably do is go back over here for a second. Where's my connectors? Let's search for, we'll go to connections, and let's search for SMTP. So you can see I currently have 3 of them. That is super confusing. I clearly want the one that I did 3 minutes ago. So click on this guy and then just say edit and call this do not reply. And so unfortunately to do it, I got to type in that silly password again. Please don't cause me problems. We'll hit save. Shoo, got the password right on that first try. Okay, so then now this SMTP connector is called do not reply. So now if we go back over here and we kind of get out, we'll search again for SMTP, and then we'll hit the drop down. So we're not seeing that connector. I ran into this when I was setting up ahead of time. So what I had to do is my famous reboot Power Apps. So we're going to say file, save, and then we will close, and then we will open. We'll allow my SharePoint connection that I used for the previous demo, not for this one. It has nothing to do with this demo, right? And so then here, so back over here again, yay. So now we'll click on data sources again. We'll search for SMTP again. Oh, it doesn't find. This happened to me also. I got real angry about this. I think this is a current bug that didn't used to behave this way. I have to expand connectors first, and now I can search for SMTP. I got nothing, folks. Why? SMTP, look, there's do not reply. Whoa, it's a lot of work. So then now that's in our app. And so then now on our on select, we can say SMTP. And remember, send email V2, V3, I didn't even bother. Whatever the latest one is, I just started there. And so then this one, the first thing I like to do here is the from. So we're going to say from. And so then this is where you'd say do not reply at powerapps911.com. And then it'd be like, all right, cool. Well, who's it to? And so then you can do a little to here, and then we'll just send it to me, right? The rest of this is all the same as sending any other email. You know, there's a to, there's a subject. Subject goes here, all right? And then there is a body. Body is here. And remember, the body is automatically HTML, and it is HTML. And so there's still a little HTML with a little bold in there just to prove that it's HTML. Oh, but I would probably have to write proper HTML for it to work. And then just remember to close your curly brackets. I kept forgetting to do this in testing, and close your parentheses. There's a bunch of other optional parameters you can use, but this is kind of the key, right? If you're like, oh, I also need to CC somebody, right? Just do a comma, and then just go down the little list here until you find, oh, look, you can do read receipts, you can set the importance. But there you go. So there's a CCC, and so you could add that in the mix. I'm not going to add any of that, but you could. But so now the key is that even though we're logged in as me, right, we'll hit play, we'll press the button, because it does us no good to do something like this and not test it. And then, oh, we'll click on the button again, no error. And so if I check my email, 1 second, we got an email from Do Not Reply. Woo! This is something you guys have wanted for a long time, right? This is the magic. This is the key. So now this email actually comes from, just as you would expect, you know, I was hoping I was going to show the little preview thing, but it's going to come from that dedicated account. There's what I was looking for. Do not reply at Power Apps 911. I said to be patient. I'm not very good at patience. But so that gets you what you needed, right? That gets you those pieces. And so we can do this. Now, there's a few things we need to talk about with this. So one of them is that it does cause a little bit of a challenge from your connection. So if we take this app now, right? So the app does what we want, right? We're able to send these, but this connector is implicitly shared, right? So we're going to see that. So let's just say file, let's say save. Let's save it. We're going to share it with Chewy because Chewy doesn't have access to the app yet. So we can kind of see this. So I'm going to publish this version, and then we're going to do a share here. And now remember while we're waiting on this to load that, you know, if you wanted to just download this whole working app, all that previous functionality around emails plus all this functionality, right? Remember, you can do that at training.powerapps911.com. And so you can take advantage of it. Okay, so now that share open here, you can see that sharing this connection shares an implicit connection. I'm like, what? I don't even know what that means. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Chewy. And so we're going to say Chewy the dog. And so if you scroll down here, you can see that the SMTP connector is implicitly shared. What does that mean? Well, remember that we went over here and we made a connector, right? And so like if we look at the connections, these are all the connectors that I have made, right? These are Shane's connectors. And so if we find the SMTP do not reply one and we go in there, and so if we go to the share option, we're going to see that right now I am the owner. Wait, I must have clicked on the wrong one. No, I didn't. Whatever. But so I am the owner and Ferguson the cat can use this connector. Okay. So you could add everyone in the org, but the downside of this and what's going to happen here in just a moment when we share it, as Chewy's going to show up here, is that they can use my connector, right? That's what it means by implicitly shared. So if we, well, here, let's finish sharing. Let's go back to here. So we're going to say, okay, I'm cool with that. We're going to say share. And so this is going to share the app with Chewy as you'd expect, right? That's what you're used to. But now if we go back over here and hit share, Chewy now has access. What does that mean? So let's log in as Chewy real quick. Okay, so here's Chewy's browser. Chewy's going to start a new app, right? Because he has this one shared with him and he can't edit this app, right? That all works the way you expect. But if Chewy says, hey, I want to build a new app, well, phone layout for once. I always click tab layout. So we're going to click phone layout just to be different. It doesn't matter. So then now if Chewy says, hey, I want to add a connector and Chewy searches for SMTP, oh, look, he sees this. He sees the do not reply. So Chewy has access to this connector because it is an implicitly shared connector. So what do you do, right? Well, if you're okay with it, because Chewy would then have to know to use it and he would have to, you know, so you go up here, like SMTP, send email. And so then he'd have to know that he needs to set the from to be to not reply, but he could figure it out. Maybe you watch this video too. So this is why we often don't use connectors like this. The same way like we talked about with SQL many moons ago, like over a year ago, I think. We talked about using these in separate environments, in an environment where Chewy can't make apps. If Chewy can't make apps, then he can't directly use this connector. So that's the type of stuff that you sometimes want to think about. I'll put a link to that environment security video. Now the key is if you watch that video, it is a little old, I'm not gonna lie, but everything I talk about from the security model is the same. The key is that in there I talk about P1 and P2 licenses. That's the old Power Apps licensing story. And with those licenses, they don't come into play anymore. As long as you have environment maker privileges, you can make an environment now. You don't need a special license to do that. But your company needs capacity to create that license. So I probably need to do a follow-up to that video, but understand, right? The key thing I want you to take out of this video is if you use this do not reply, which I think a lot of you want to, you've got to understand that people have access to this connector so they could build their own app with do not reply. You don't care? Awesome. If you care, then you got to build this app and the connector in a separate environment. And then that video will talk about the other environments. Okay? Woo. All right. That was a lot to cover a little, which is pretty typical, right? There's just so many pieces. And I try to do the right thing, right? And not skipping these finer details, you guys. Hopefully you appreciate it. I know it makes the videos longer, but now you don't like half know the truth. Hopefully you now fully know the truth. And like I said earlier, you can download this video and all my videos, right, from training.powerapps911.com, the curated library. So check that out if you'd rather, copy my videos instead of actually rebuild all these. Also, I don't know if you can really see on camera, but I'm wearing my cute new Chewy sweatshirt. This is some things we'll talk about in maybe next week's video. But I got this new soft Chewy sweatshirt. I feel very cool in it. So I thought I'd show you guys. As always, if I can do anything to help, leave me comments below. I respond to all of them. Sometimes it takes me a long time, but I try to get back to all of them as best I can. Or we can help you at Power Apps 911. We're always happy to help you build solutions. Solutions like this come from customer apps that we've already built. So with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Before you go, be sure to click on the subscribe button over here so that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. If you need any help or you want to work together, whether your problem is big or small, check us out at Power Apps 911. We do it all. I rhymed. Or if you're looking for more formal training offerings, we have those linked up here somewhere. So check them out. Thanks and have a great day.